Welcome back, and welcome to the finale of the... Since their last outing, Man and Bin have been lying low, tinkering with their custom thermonuclear toys purchased with their newfound funds, $810,100 last we saw them, and making sure no new victims slipped through the cracks. Man has also been looking at a cape upgrade after the incident which brought him here in the first place. But deep in Gotham, something has been brewing. A gang of new victims has risen, twisted, relentless, and dangerous enough to make even Man and Bin break a sweat. But quickly before we get into the final group of Man's victims to take out, I thought it was important to mention that channel members actually saw this video early. I know, how cool. You can also grab yourself a channel membership and see videos early and help me make bigger and better videos. No pressure, but it would help a ton. Anyway, who are the pair going after today? This crew is a mix of the familiar and the fearsome. First, Jerva, a foe Man never got the chance to kill in his mainline spree, but who once stalked him through the streets of Ham City. Then comes Cronam, the ultimate victim who forced Man into a brief retirement during the bloody days of Ham Night. If revenge is a dish best served cold, Man is going sub-zero on him. But not everyone here is old business. Enter Killer Moth, a new face, too dangerous, too vile, too downright unpleasant to joke about. Second cousin to Chiller Croc, while Croc went down the road of being fun and lovable, Moth took the opposite path, honing his criminal skills. Man and Bin know they can't take him alone, so for this one, they've called in some backup from an ally who specialises in the new world they found themselves in. And finally, the ringleaders, Jonkler and Quinn, Gotham's cruelest clowns. United by bloodlust and vengeance, they've come for payback, to settle the score for Jonkler's real-world death at the hands of Man in Ham City, to revoke the 150th kill Man got on that fateful night. So, now the stage is set, the victims are waiting, and for the very last time in this universe at least, Man, Bin, take it away. To deal with Jerva, Bin has decided to bring his largest thermonuclear warhead. However, being the dimwit he is, he drops it back into the man cave, nearly sending Fred to space in 20,000 tiny chunks, but thankfully Fred's British aura saves his life. When Man and Bin land at Jerva's factory of Freak, they're met with some new goons, Jonkler's clown goons. 13 victims add themselves to our already impressive kill count, including 2 goons firing upon us from afar. Bin dons his first suit of the new chapter in their killing spree, the Henry suit. I've changed the name because, well, I can. So, using the new Henry suit bestowed onto him by the suit changer overlords, Bin begins actually cleaning the city up. Wow, he really is a changed man. But obviously Bin only does this because it actually benefits him and his dad who still hates him. And by cleaning up the trash left around by employees of this factory, Man and Bin construct the Sucky. Now, I have a lot of history with this Sucky machine. It became Cardi family folklore after me and my father played through the game when I was a child. So seeing it again was like seeing my wife, who I thought died in active warfare, walk through the front door after being declared dead. So yeah, this was a pretty big moment. We use the Sucky to clear the ground of this green stuff, and the pair get jumped by 6 more Jonkler goons who want to get their hands on it. Obviously they're dealt with. Man does some construction and dons the famous AQWOT suit, ACWOT or AQWOT suit, which stands for a complete waste of time. See, back in Man's real world, he didn't need a suit to glide, his cape did that for him. Using it to clear this cavern, and the pair break into the room's roof and find 6 more Jonkler goons to kill, which they do, throwing them around like, I don't know, something to throw around. Before they get rudely interrupted by an overwhelming amount of enemies, 10 to be exact. Of course though, they're added to the count, forgotten about and put in the dirt. Man and Bin, in their pursuit to become the frontrunners in the ongoing global nuclear arms race, begin creating this machine which launches bombs from Man's TB Pi suit into any unfortunate target it may detect. This time though, they just use it to blow open a door for the Sucky to come through and clear the ground of this toxic waste before entering the factory. Once inside, the duo are met by the hired security, but since they have no respect for the points of authority, they duel with the thugs who they kill in the end. So they add 5 more thugs to their count as they make their way through the factory. Man tries to dead-eye a thug firing from the rafters, but unfortunately he can't lock on, so the boys head up a flight of stairs and kill 3 more thugs out of anger. 4 more are added in quick fashion, and Man, in celebration of his recent killing spree, builds an ice cream forklift, and in response, Bin fashions a knockoff, not quite as good ice lolly forklift, proving again he will never live up to his mentor. Man's next victim comes when this lone thug tries to rush him, but gets completely and utterly sent to the Shadow Realm with a classic Man super kick. High on the fumes of murder, he then jumps into a group of thugs and kills them all in cold blood, slaying them where they stand, and that group is swiftly joined by 2 more foolish clowns. For some reason, 3 more thugs think their collective might can stop the Man train, and of course they don't. They can't because they are simply too weak. Man abandons Bin, figuring this whole situation will be solved much quicker if he kept his incompetent sidekick out of this, and his suspicions are quickly confirmed when he brings a group of 7 thugs to a decisive end. Bin decides to help out, finally, actually pulling his own weight and constructing a larger version of his Henry suit, but it doesn't hoover anything and instead magically fills with pools of acid, so that's cool, I guess. Anyway, the pair killed another 2 enemies, with Man farming the hell out of the surrounding aura with the latter 2 kills. He jumps in Bin's crappy knockoff of his ice cream truck forklift and uses it to activate an elevator which they used to hunt 3 more thugs down, ending them as quickly as they saw them. 4 gun goons guard the entrance to the next room, and Man also makes short work of them. Once inside, the pair reunite and take out 5 more goons, and Man, as an apology for being a little mean earlier, builds his useless son a new suit changer, this time giving him access to the freaky foot suit. Man uses the Aquat suit to glide over to these 3 thugs who are all very quickly killed and added to the count, before bringing Bin across with him, and the dynamic dimwits take out 5 more thugs. After opening the door to the next room, they find Jerva, who shows his brutality by pushing an innocent goon into a vat of acid, presumably turning him into Jeremiah Valeska. The boys beat on 3 thugs, before sending Jerva back to his perch. There are then no more kills here, and the boys repeatedly drop Jerva into acid, which is entirely justified, and eventually, when all is said and done, blind him and leave him to rot to death in the factory. After their trip to the zoo went sideways, Man decides he should take his son to the amusement park, a place of fun and joy for the whole family. Unfortunately though, on the way to the park, they find out Jonkler and Quinn have kidnapped Jimmy G and put him in a cage, before showing us they're going to strap him to a bomb, drop an elephant on him, and then pull him apart? What the fuck? Anyway, this whole section is eerily similar to A Killing Joke, which is not a family-friendly story, so I guess Lego Man is just edgy now. Well, I sure hope Man gets to maybe or maybe not kill someone at the end. Anyway, they need to rescue their police commissioner Chum, so head there with murder on their minds. Once they arrive, 4 thugs meet their end, with them all telling the duo how they're going to tear Jimmy G apart. To calm himself down, Man engages in a callback to the zoo. This time though, instead of riding a mechanical penguin which exudes lo-fi beats, he rides a rocket ship which exudes a cappella versions of Linkin Park songs. Anyway, the pair hunt 5 more victims down and end them in a flurry. Man kills a rat, as is custom at this point, and then he dons the TB pie suit, which can only mean one thing, that being extreme amounts of public property damage. But while finding the perfect place to bomb, the duo were jumped by 6 balloon-wielding bad guys, but they're no match for the unmistakable aura of our favourite father and son pair, and they're all promptly dealt with. After going through the gate, further through the amusement park, Man and Bin are jumped by 5 more thugs, before Man finally tries to upgrade the Man Wing, hopping into a stationary flight test sim for a few seconds, before realising this will never come close to being the Man Wing for one high caliber reason: it has no guns, making it completely and utterly useless for Man's intended purposes. However, it does drop plenty of coins for the Wayne Enterprises Fund, so that's a bonus. After the test flight ends, 8 goons try to steal the plane, and despite Man's hatred for it due to it not having any guns, he and Bin defend it valiantly, a rare show of respect from the dimwits. A show of respect that is quickly met with a show of rampant disrespect, as 4 of the Joker's low-life lackeys flew in and tried to take the plane. Again though, they were no match for the duo. After defending their new plane, a plane they won't use but will cherish like their own anyway, Man dons the JBL suit. The JBL suit has been a fan favourite since its founding back where the pair ended up in this twisted world, but for those of you who don't know what the suit is all about, let me give you a quick demonstration.
But I prefer the term African American Express.
See, the JBL suit is actually named after the speaker brand. It launches songs at people rather than being a conventional protective suit against anyone in particular. It exists purely for the vibes. Man and Bin spot a suit changer for Bin and so head over to it, but they have to remove 4 more goons from this plane of existence before they can get Bin his new change of clothes. What clothes might they be? Well, it's the freaky foot suit, of course. Bin puts on his new shoes and his new drip attracts 6 more thugs who are dealt with. Not swiftly, but they are dealt with. And that's what matters. Further on in the park, Man is jumped by a trio of treacherous twits who are all brought to an end using a quick-fire batarang and a kick to the gut, but as the dust settles on one encounter, another encounter arises. The pair are attacked by another threesome of threatening clowns, but again they make short work of them. Bin switches into the Henry suit and begins cleaning the local area, one bit of trash at a time, but some local vandals try and stop Bin doing good. But thankfully he and his father are able to fight them off pretty easily, ensuring Bin can complete his court-mandated community service. Man, though, always one to rebel against the system, smashes some windows, causing the occupiers of the abode to defend their turf, a move which proves to be completely misjudged as they are all killed, the 4 of them being put down. To make up for his earlier misdemeanour, Man saves this poor woman from being eternally held hostage by these 3 thugs, and as Man disembarks the teacups, a fantastic group of 4 thugs try to end the pair's fun, but obviously they don't get very far. On their way past the helter-skelter, Man and Bin kill a father and son waiting in line for their turn before ending the lives of 5 more paying guests for getting in their way. 2 more thugs try to stop Man and Bin getting to Jimmy G, who I completely forgot was even a factor amidst all the fun of mass murder and making money, but like all those before them, they were evaporated. Before they reach Jimmy G and Quinn, the boys are jumped by what seems to be 9 guards. In any other circumstances, a 9v2 fight wouldn't be fair. But, you know, they say that all men are created equal. But you look at Man and Bin and you look at these goons and you can see that statement is just not true. See, normally if you go 9-on-2 with another group of people, you've got a 50-50 chance of winning. But Man and Bin are genetic freaks and they're not normal, so you've got a 25% chance at best to beat them. Then you add a jack-in-the-box with a Tommy gun into the mix, your chances of winning drastically go down. See, the 9-on-2 way at the amusement park, you've got a 33 1/3 chance of winning. But Man and Bin have got a 66 2/3 chance of winning. Because these 9 thugs know they can't beat Man and Bin, and they're not even going to try. Anyway, enough of that. I'm scared Scott Steiner might call me one of his freaks if I carry on. I'm leaving that version in. The pair go through the gates to find Jimmy G, who, by the way, has now been kidnapped in 4 of Man and his family's adventures. Just saying, he kind of sucks. They find Jimmy G, Quinn and Jonkler. Jonkler hides out of reach, delaying us from getting on murderous mittens on him for now, and we have to chase Quinn in a circle until she gets dizzy and we can attack. However, while attacking her, she calls in 6 goons who have to be taken out, followed by another batch of 6, and one of the inflating thugs who we shrink back down to size. After we chase Quinn enough to make her dizzy, we stop her, and okay, we don't really. Bin tries to fight her but ends up being chased around by her with a mallet, which Bin then tries to use on her. But Quinn, knowing her lore, grabs the crocodile from Man and Bin's time in the sewers that Bin tried to fight. All of this while Man rescues Jimmy G from his prison cell. Man does a little aura farming and no luck trips Quinn up with a manarang, crushing her under the crocodile and saving Bin. After Jimmy G is saved, we see Jonkler escaping in his Jonkcopter, and so we take to the skies. Now, this one is personal for Man. Cronam was the one who finally beat Man back in the real world, revealing his true identity to them, and sending him into a brief retirement. So, this is his chance to finally return the favour and kill Cronam. Also, it's worth mentioning, we'll only be counting 1 kill per vehicle instead of the usual 3, since we can actually see here that each helicopter has 1 person in it. So, let's get into this by adding 10 kills to the count right off the bat. The kills come thick and fast here, but I think Man killed another 8 victims here and another 8 here. Honestly, this is where the count might go off the rails. There is so much going on here. 5 more are killed here, 4 more here, 4 more here, and holy hell, this is getting hectic. It doesn't slow down either, as 5 more helicopters are blasted out of the sky, as yet another batch of 5 fly in to join the fray but are dispatched of. In the next section, 5 more helicopters are blown up before another 4 join them, and another 4 join them. This is very quickly becoming my least favourite segment of this series, but alas, we catch up to Cronam, who's used what was left of his ham night money to buy a biplane. A biplane which Bin grabs and Man shoots the hell out of, causing Cronam to crash into Jonkler, as Man simply nods in awe of his great work, clearing out Cronam and getting revenge for the whole ham night incident. I apologise for the lack of jokes or hilarious commentary you came to this channel for, but that whole segment was pretty thick and fast, not giving us much room to breathe, and I'm sorry, but that lack of funny will continue into our next segment, not due to the quantity of enemies, but due to the quality and ruthlessness of the man we're facing next. For the first time in Man and Bin's career, they needed help, so they asked me to reach out to a man who knows all about Killer Moth, an expert in mothology, BD1P.
There's something we all need to understand about Killer Moth. Underneath that campy, pulpy, beautiful Spirit Halloween costume is, in canon, Lego Man's greatest adversary. No, I'm not joking. Throughout the games, we've seen him take on the likes of Bane, Joker, and even Darkseid without really breaking a sweat. But Killer Moth is different. On an old promotional Flash website, we were able to read descriptions of characters that appear in the game. And if we head on over to Barbara Gordon's, we learn that her tenure as Batgirl started after she saved Bruce Wayne from being kidnapped by Killer Moth. Yeah, Bruce Wayne, otherwise known as Man. Go ahead, play through all the games again. You'll never find another moment where Man is captured by any villain. Moth is the only one to do so. Unless you count Owlman, but like that's just himself in a different dimension, or I guess it's like his older brother. Who cares? Moth is a terrifying force. You can't just wander into his territory without being prepared. No matter what choices you make, what actions you take, it's always going to be what he wanted you to do. There is no escape. Good luck, man. You're gonna need it.
Well, there you have it, straight from the mouth of a man who studied Moth for years, even going as far to call him Killer Moth, a nickname bestowed onto him in study groups dedicated to Moth due to his kill count and downright disregard for human life. BD warned Man and Bin to be careful because every move they make plays right into Moth's hands. He's the only villain to capture Man, and he's dangerous, so let's wish the boys some good luck. We begin with Moth clearly using an old conventional jungle warfare tactic called moth manoeuvring to lure the boys into a trap, but they don't bite. Man builds a car. Last time he did this, it was to get away from his incompetent son. This time he's built it to try and commit vehicular manslaughter on Killer Moth. Unfortunately though, he can't, and Moth manages to moth move out of the way to safety. Man, having realised him and his son have actually fallen for the moth manoeuvre, have to fight their way past 6 of the Mothmen, and they do that, of course. Man then builds another car and uses it to run some people down, but again, he doesn't actually hit anyone. He does, however, kill 2 more thugs, followed by dispatching of a lone thug who wanted to try his hand at some light-hearted murder. Man gets his dumb son to push him up an elevator, which leads directly to a TB pie suit. He dons the suit and now has the destructive force to maybe have a slim chance at being able to land a hit on Moth. Man drops down to street level and decides as a reward for helping him, he'd bake Bin a cake. I'm kidding, he destroys it in front of him because he doesn't respect Bin. Man, being the world's greatest detective, realises something strange. There are a lot of seemingly related blonde women who all look the exact same. A trick to bring out Man's playboy side and thus catch him off guard, or is this just a street exclusively for blonde people? You call it. Either way, Man breaks into this nightclub and begins wrecking the joint before killing 8 thugs, destroying the blonde girl nightclub. As someone engaged to a woman with blonde hair, this is a touchy subject for me, so I made sure Man was able to clear the club out and make a safe environment for these women to enjoy themselves. And yes, I do think we should make fuel prices lower. Vote for me in the 2027 election, hashtag I believe in Cardi Dent in the comments. Man and Bin continue to clear the upper floor of this blonde woman-only nightclub, taking out 6 thugs on the top floor, and Bin dons the wreck suit to bring this robot out of the dance floor. It breaks open a wall and suddenly begins boogieing. It does try to crush the non-blonde women in the club, but it just can't. Its sole purpose, despite the fact it has wings and missiles, is to dance, and so it does just that, and obviously Man and Bin, amidst the thought of being brought to an end by Killer Moth, decide to have a little dance as well. Once outside, following Moth's trail of destruction, the boys kill 3 more thugs, and Bin dons the freaky footsuit as they rescue another blonde lady, this time from 2 hostage takers. Bin uses the new suit to hunt these 2 victims down and add them to the count before he builds an industrial pump to remove the green goo from the floor, allowing for Man to safely make his way over to Bin, and after blowing up some junk, Man and Bin dispose of 5 more thugs as 5 more look on, scared that they'll meet the same fate, and of course they do. Man and Bin enter the broken down building in front of them, and the Moth begins its hunt. He fires up his jetpack and begins attacking the dynamic dimwits. They fight back, but it's useless. Moth runs away, giving them a chance to recuperate from the beatdown he just put on them. Man, using his astute tactical fight analysis, realises something. Moth wears night vision goggles, something that they can use to take him down. Armed with this knowledge, the boys regroup and decide how they'll take down the deadliest foe they've faced, evident by his path of destruction and lack of respect for women-exclusive nightclubs. #I believe in Cardi Dem. They decide to build a giant light, messing with Moth's 20/20 vision and giving them a slim chance to damage him, but as they do, a large group of thugs try to get in Moth's good books, attacking the pair, but they're all pretty easily dealt with, so we'll add those 8 buffoons to the count. Moth attacks the pair a few more times, only their iron will keeping them alive through this onslaught of punches and kicks, and 8 more thugs come in to try and help Moth, but they fail. Man and Bin using their last breaths to deal with Moth's help before, in the biggest upset of all time, the dynamic dimwits manage to blind Moth long enough to drop him down to their level and beat him down before Bin sprays him with some anti-moth repellent, and he rats out the Jonkler and Quinn, who are trying to poison Gotham from the cathedral over the street. Moth waits until they've gone, sacrificing Jonkler and Quinn to Man and Bin before flying off to safety because he's not only extremely physically imposing, but mentally, he is a powerhouse. Here we are, everyone. Man and Bin's final outing for a very long time. I am not doing any more serial killer runs for a very, very long time. They've taken out so many enemies, so many supervillains, but this is what it's all been leading up to. Taking down Jonkler and Quinn for good. They both have history with each of them, but tonight, it ends for good. Once they arrive, Man, knowing this is his last chance to really pump those numbers up, kills 15 thugs at the front door before donning the TB pie suit and going on one more attempted vehicular manslaughter spree. Their penchant for saving blonde women in distress kicks back in, and they end 3 more thugs here, bringing them down and saving the lady. After some more exploring, Quinn leaps out of a window and pushes her own men to their deaths, stealing kills off of Man and Bin. Man relishes the opportunity to kill more foes and so ends 4 more enemies, adding them to the count. Man and Bin, who's now wearing his freaky foot suit, build oil launchers and begin shooting Quinn with crude oil in hopes she'll slip and fall to her death and stop being so goddamn annoying. However, she retreats inside. Man and Bin give chase up the cathedral, and when they reach the top, they find themselves surrounded by a load of photorealistic barrels of toxic waste, connected to very Lego-looking dispersal devices. Jonkler and Quinn find themselves stuck in the large bells atop the tower, and it's up to Man and Bin to get them out and beat them to death. Jonkler is the first to fall after being scared out of his bell by a large hammer, with Quinn joining him soon after. When they think they've caught the clowning couple, Jonkler blows a hole in the cathedral wall and our dynamic dimwits are attacked by the Jonkcopter. They dodge its fire to begin with and construct another pair of crude oil launchers, this time hoping to set the helicopter on fire using a book of matches Man keeps in his belt after the chopper is doused in the oil. However, that isn't needed, as the chopper flies off anyway, scared of the fiery death that would await him if he stuck around. Jonkler jumps down to try and finish the job, but between Man and Bin they make short work of the Clown Prince of Cringe, until he manages to electrocute them both half to death. Once they come to, Jonkler and Quinn are celebrating their victory, until Man, spotting some bats in the rafters, uses them to daze and confuse Jonkler and Quinn, while farming as much aura as humanly possible, alongside Bin and Jimmy G. The police move in to arrest the clown couple, and that brings Man and Bin's night to an end. In the grimy depths of Arkham Asylum, the criminal lineup sulks, knowing they lost. Moth even hired a body double to take his place in custody, giving Man and Bin hope they might have beaten him, but we all know that isn't true. The final look inside the asylum we get is Jonkler, having been defeated for the 5th time by Man, trying to kill himself. Unfortunately for him though, his life can only be taken by Man, so until that day comes, the joke is on him. Well, there we go. That brings a close to the LEGO Batman 1 serial killer run. Man and Bin collected a grand total of 1,192,189 studs during their time in this new world they found themselves in, filling up the Wayne Enterprises fund. They also got a healthy 855 kills, cementing to Gotham that Man and Bin are back and as good as they ever were. Later in the cave, the pair discussed leaving this world, but ultimately came to the conclusion they liked it here. It was so much more fun, money came from literally everywhere, and they got loads of cool outfits, so they'll be sticking around in the LEGO world for a while. I want to say a huge thanks to BD1P for his help in taking down Moth. Truly, without his insight into the mind of Man and Bin's most dangerous foe yet, I don't think they'd have beaten him. Seriously though, if you haven't already and you love the LEGO games as much as I do, go check out BD's channel down below, as well as the website he referenced in his section. He revived my love for the LEGO games a few years ago after not playing them since my childhood, and he's very knowledgeable about this stuff, so go and say hi. Even tell him I sent you, or don't feel obliged to. Finally, I hope you don't think because Man and Bin are staying in the LEGO universe they'll be meeting any homicide homies, or going to space, or even being replaced by alternate versions of themselves, because I can assure you they won't be doing any of that. Instead, they'll stay in the cave and watch Instagram Reels for another few months, bathing in the sweet smell of death. Jokes aside, thank you all so much for watching and committing to the series. It means the world. Get yourself a channel membership, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.